Believe it or not, we are midway through the 2025 NFL season, and in today's video, we will be going back and grading picks 1 through 16 from the 2025 NFL Draft. We will be going in reverse order, so we will be starting with the Cardinals selection of defensive lineman Walter Nolen, and finishing with the Titans selection of quarterback Cam Ward. If you are wondering where picks 17 through 32 are, that video will be released next Saturday. Now, one thing within the grading for transparency, we are grading largely the production from each player so far, so obviously, the Browns and Jags had a very big trade so that the Jags could go up and get Travis Hunter. We are grading just the production of Travis Hunter so far, and not the second round pick in which the Browns took Quinshon Judkins and the 2026 first. Just Travis Hunter's production so far. So I did want to get that transparency within the grading out of the way, and if you could take a second to like the video before we start to help with the almighty YouTube algorithm, I would very much appreciate that. And with those prefaces out of the way, let's begin. The Arizona Cardinals selected Walter Nolen with the 16th pick in the 2025 draft, and at the time of this video release, Walter Nolen has only played in one NFL game, which was in Week 9 against the Dallas Cowboys. Nolen started the season on the PUP list due to a calf injury, and in his lone NFL game, well, his impact was felt. He had 4 total tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack, and a pass deflection, and played a big part in the Cardinals' win. Unfortunately, this grade will be incomplete as he's only played 37 snaps on the season, and I don't think that's enough of a sample size to grade, but if Cardinals fans want to grade on his first NFL game, I mean, look, he would be on pace for 34 TFLs as well as 17 sacks, and I think that grade would have to be an A+. Georgia defensive player Jaylen Walker was the first of 2 Falcons first-round picks in the night, as the other was pass rusher James Pierce Jr., but there has been flashes from Jaylen Walker in the first half of his rookie season. At the time of this video release, Walker has played in 6 of the team's 8 games as he missed a few games with a groin injury. The big thing with Jaylen Walker as a prospect was he was a very unique player in the sense of whichever team drafted him had to have a plan with his usage because he lines up at so many positions, and I was worried a team would draft Jaylen Walker and not have a plan for him or try to make him become a player he's not, and you also had to factor in him adjusting to the NFL level and the physicality and strength of the NFL level at 21 years old. But Walker had a really good game against the Patriots in Week 9 as he had 5 total tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble, and I really think we're starting to scratch the surface of the player he can become. At the time of this video release, he has played less than 180 total snaps, and I do think this grade will rise by season's end, and significantly, but for now this is a B+. Tyler Warren was the Colts' first-round pick, and in the first half of his rookie season, he's been everything the Colts could have asked for and more. He has over 500 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns, as well as a rushing touchdown in his first 9 career games, and also has 5 games with 60 or more yards. And whenever this selection was made, well, I was surprised he fell all the way to the 14th pick and already thought this was good value for the Colts, but I specifically like this selection because I thought it was a great landing spot for Warren. A lot of things can change in a short time period in the NFL, and when this pick was made, I thought, man, if Anthony Richardson can't hit Tyler Warren, then the Colts have a lot bigger problems on their hands. But that was never a thought because Daniel Jones took the starting job, and through 9 games, the Colts have the highest scoring offense in the league at over 32 points per game. And I think you can make a legitimate argument that Tyler Warren could put up even better numbers on a team that doesn't have as many mouths to feed as Indy does. And even with Jonathan Taylor, a guy who could very easily win the Offensive Player of the Year award, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, and Alec Pierce, there's still a possibility Warren puts up 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end, which would be just the 4th time in the past 65 years. Not surprisingly, this is an easy A+. Now, during the season with a busy work schedule, if there's 2 things I love, it's convenience and food. And today's sponsor, Good Chop, delivers high-quality American meat and seafood straight to your door. And one of the cool things about Good Chop is, unlike grocery stores, there is not a limited selection on meat and seafood. Not to mention, the quality with the grocery store can be hit or miss, but Good Chop removes the guesswork by delivering vacuum-sealed cuts frozen at peak freshness, so your freezer stays stocked and you can cook when you want. And I'll be honest, I was absolutely ecstatic to partner with Good Chop, and I've been looking to partner with Good Chop for a while, and they sent me several different kinds of meat, and I absolutely love grilling, and I really think this is one you need to see in person to really see the quality of the meat that you're getting, and I absolutely love the New York strip and the ribeye that I grilled, and those are my favorite cuts of meat, is the strip and the ribeye. But I also love the bavette steak. I also cooked some wings in the oven. I also used some ground beef that I turned into burgers on the grill, and I could not be happier with the product that Good Chop sent me, and I can't recommend Good Chop enough. And right now you can go to goodshop.com/YouTube and use code GFB50 to get $50 off your first order plus free shipping, or click the link in the description. Once again, that's goodshop.com/YouTube and use code GFB50 to get $50 off your first order plus free shipping. I've been wanting to work with a company like Goodshop for a long time, and I cannot thank Goodshop enough for sponsoring today's video. Kenneth Grant for the Dolphins is up and 9 games into his rookie season. I'll be honest, I don't think this pick looks great, and not just because of the Kenneth Grant pick, but there's a reason former GM Chris Grier and the team mutually parted ways. I liked Grant as a draft prospect coming out of Michigan, and for reference, I had him at 26 at my final top 150 big board, so admittedly the value was a little rich for where Grant was selected, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed with how the pick looks half a year in. If you look at the raw stat sheet and see that he has 1.5 sacks, you may say, well, that's not bad for a rookie interior defensive lineman, and that he could finish the year with 4 sacks and that would be a stepping stone, but he only has 12 pressures on 168 pass rushing snaps, and the 1.5 sacks he has under his belt were also sacks that kind of fell into his lap. Bryce Young was trying to get the first down on a 3rd and 2 on one play, and Kenneth Grant tackled him after he tried to get past the line of scrimmage, and he caught Justin Herbert on his way to the line of scrimmage too. Grant also gets moved regularly in the run game, and if there is anything positive to take away or anything to hang your head on, it's that he just turned 22 years old and he could be going through growing pains, the way a lot of young trench players do. But right now, this pick does not look good, and half a year in, this is a D. The Cowboys beefed up their offensive line with their first-round pick in Alabama guard Tyler Booker. Now, the Cowboys are in the headlines pretty often for, well, a lot of reasons, but Tyler Booker had a near-impossible task as a rookie, and that was to replace future Hall of Fame guard Zach Martin, and I think he's done a tremendous job. And one of my concerns with Tyler Booker coming out of Alabama was that a team was going to try to make him be a player he's not, and it's pretty straightforward who Tyler Booker is. He's mean, he's nasty, and you better get out of his way in the run game. And Javonte Williams has had a resurgence year, and obviously he deserves a lot of credit for that, but Tyler Booker has also helped pave the way. Big time. And in pass pro, Tyler Booker has allowed just 12 pressures on nearly 300 pass blocking snaps. And unfortunately, he did miss some time due to a high ankle sprain, but in the 3 games he's played since returning, he's allowed just 4 pressures on 135 pass blocking snaps. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Jerry Jones truly does a lot of things right from a football standpoint. There's obviously things he doesn't do right, but I couldn't be happier for Tyler Booker. Right now, this is an A, though I project this grade to go up at season's end. Mykel Williams was the 49ers' first-round pick, and this was a selection I wasn't a huge fan of to begin with because I thought he was an extremely raw player that won largely on athleticism during his time at Georgia, and I didn't think there was a pass rush plan from Mykel other than speed to power, and I think that translated in a lot of ways to his rookie season, and this was why I was lower on Mykel Williams as a prospect than other analysts, and for reference, I had him at player 32 on my board. Now, unfortunately, Mykel Williams tore his ACL in the Week 9 game against the Giants, and obviously we all wish Mykel the best in recovery, and for the purpose of today's video, that is enough time to register a grade. He didn't play 10 snaps in one game, and that was it. No, he played and started 9 games. He had 245 pass rushing snaps and only registered 19 pressures, and he had a few plays here and there, but for the 11th overall pick, I was pretty underwhelmed with Mykel Williams' performance. He is only 21 years old and he can grow into his body more in year 2, but I thought there was a lot of meat left on the bone, and the criticism has nothing to do with injury because we of course wish him the best, I mean, obviously, but through half a season, this grade would be a C-. Colston Loveland, the Bears' first-round pick, is up, and this is a very difficult pick to grade for a couple of reasons. The first thing that I think needs to be established with Loveland is I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a really good player. I don't think he's destined to be a bust and to always be in Tyler Warren's shadows as a tight end either, especially because both were first-round tight ends in the same draft. But one thing I do not understand is drafting a tight end with a top 10 pick and only giving him 25 targets in his first 7 games. And if you want to go further, 18 targets in his first 6 games, as he had more than half of his receiving yards on the year in the Week 9 game against Cincy, which is one of the worst defenses over the past 25 years. So with the Loveland pick specifically, he makes plays when he's actually thrown the ball, but the plan is not something I can get behind. And I think the plan after drafting Loveland would probably be a D, or at the very best a C- grade, but it is clear to me that Loveland has talent. He's just not being fully utilized. And out of the picks in today's video, this is one I struggled with the most because it's not a reflection on the talent or the player, it's more of a reflection of the lack of involvement. And ultimately, we went with a C+. Kelvin Banks was a prospect I loved coming out of Texas, and I loved the thought process from GM Mickey Loomis with this pick. Obviously, the Saints have not had a lot of success this year, but I love the process of drafting Talisi Fuaga and Kelvin Banks in back-to-back years. And through the first half of his rookie season, Kelvin Banks has allowed a lot of pressures on paper, but I think the tape has also showed promise. He did have one bad game against the 49ers in which Nick Bosa took him to school a couple of times, but that was in Kelvin Banks' second career NFL start at 21 years old, and I am willing to dismiss that. Now, if this was a regular thing where Banks was getting beat by everybody, not just Nick Bosa, it would be a different conversation. But the progress has been there, and like we've discussed on the channel before, playing in the trenches at 21 years old and succeeding is a massive accomplishment in itself, and several offensive linemen from this class are young and have had a lot of success early on, and good for them. And what I think should also be remembered for Kelvin Banks specifically is he plays on a team that is often down in the second half, meaning opposing teams know they're going to throw the football. So I don't think Banks has been put in advantageous situations to say the least, and he's still been a solid player. And I think this grade will go up with time, but for now, this is an A-. Tetairoa McMillan was the Panthers' first-round pick back in April, and when this pick was made, admittedly, I clapped my hands and said yes in excitement because of what this meant for the Panthers franchise. I was really excited to see Tetairoa McMillan get paired with 2023 number 1 overall pick Bryce Young, and that the Panthers finally had a number 1 receiver. And in the first half of McMillan's rookie year, he has over 550 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns with one 100-yard game. He also technically has a 99-yard game, which is certainly frustrating from the accolade standpoint, but he's played really well through the first half of his career, and I think McMillan has been everything the Panthers could have realistically hoped for. At the time of this video release, he is on pace for a little over 1,000 yards, and I do think as football fans, we've been spoiled with the Justin Jeffersons, Jamar Chases, and Puka Nakuas, and even the Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomases of the world as rookies over the past few years. And I think what McMillan has accomplished over the first 9 games is a good representation of producing good numbers while not necessarily putting up 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns as a rookie. And I think both things can be true. T-Mac is having a good rookie season and doing everything that's asked of him, and guys before him set unrealistic expectations for rookie receivers. And midway through his rookie year, we give this an A. The New York Jets have had a long season so far, but it has nothing to do with their first-round pick, Armand Membou. I loved Armand Membou in the draft process and had him as a top 5 player in the class, and through the first half of his rookie season, he's played like it. He started his NFL career against the Steelers, and given that he's a right tackle, that meant he was going to be matching up against a former DPOY in TJ Watt. And in his NFL debut, he had 26 pass blocking snaps and 0 pressures allowed, and even threw TJ out of the club at one point in the game. There's been a few welcome to the NFL moments for Membou, but for him to show this type of promise at 21 years old has all the makings of a tackle who's going to play for this franchise for a long time. And there's a lot of things to joke about with the New York Jets, but their 2025 first-round selection is not one of them. And a lot of the time in the draft process, the biggest thing I try to emphasize is to draft good football players and not overthink it. And credit Jets GM Darren Muji for not overthinking his first pick as the Jets GM. Half a year in, this is an A+. Ashton Jeanty was the Raiders' first-round pick, and it's been a long season for the Silver and Black, and by extension, Ashton Jeanty too. In the first 9 games of his career, he has just one 100-yard rushing game and 2 games with 100 or more yards from the line of scrimmage. But in fairness to Ashton Jeanty, the situation around him is awful, and I don't think it's an exaggeration or too far off to say this is close to the equivalent of a 2002 David Carr type situation for a rookie running back. Whenever I watch the Raiders play, both live and going back through the tape, the first thing I notice is how little push the offensive line has, and say to myself that whether the back is Ashton Jeanty or Barry Sanders, this situation is not good for anybody to succeed in, period. Now, Jeanty didn't play great against the Broncos in Week 10 as a ball hit off his hands that should have been caught and became an interception, but one play or one game does not bring his grade down significantly, but it is to say Jeanty hasn't been perfect either. For clarity, I think this is a good player in a bad situation, but this is a challenging pick to grade because of how bad the situation is. At the moment, he is on pace for a near 1,300 total yard, 13 total touchdown season. Half a year in, this gets a B. Mason Graham of the Browns is up, and this is a pick that needs context within the grade. If you look at the raw numbers and say, man, Mason Graham has 17 total tackles in 8 games, along with just 2 TFLs and half a sack, then you may say, yep, the Browns drafted another bust, and they're the same old Browns, and insert any joke here you'd like. But going back through the tape, Mason Graham is a pretty impactful player, and he's had several splashes early in his career, and for him to show flashes, like a huge TFL against the Ravens in which he completely wrecked the play from the start, or like he did against the Packers in which you saw the juice in his game and you saw him win in various ways as an interior rusher, I think shows a lot of promise for who he will be in 2026 and beyond. And I think there is a significant difference between what Mason Graham has shown in 2025 and what fellow Michigan draftee Kenneth has shown in 2025. And for the crowd that says you don't draft this type of player at number 5 overall, I get where you're coming from, but we're more so grading what the player has done rather than saying they could have or should have went another direction with the pick. And I'll also say this too, Mason Graham receives a lot more double teams than you probably think. And again, I know the raw numbers don't look great, but I think the Browns have something here, and half a year in, this gets a B with it expected to go up. The New England Patriots knew they needed a left tackle of the future, and that's why they selected Will Campbell from LSU with the 4th pick. And half a season in, Will Campbell has been exactly that. Now, obviously with the 2025 Patriots and the success they've had, a lot of the media attention and praise goes to Drake May, Mike Vrabel, or even sometimes Josh McDaniels. But Will Campbell has played really well for New England since being drafted, and I know one thing that may get brought up is the Myles Garrett 5-sack game, but those 5 sacks were not all on Will Campbell, not even close. Technically, he allowed 2 of the 5, but I would also argue that Drake May should have thrown the ball away before taking a few of those sacks. Myles Garrett obviously had a tremendous game, but he beat Hunter Henry on a few of them and not Will Campbell on all of them. Campbell has also been a beast in the run game, and he is a people mover. I was admittedly a little worried about his arm length at the NFL level and thought he would be a better guard, and I guess that could still technically apply, but he's done a wonderful job for the Patriots so far. And next time you watch the Patriots, I recommend checking on number 66 at left tackle, an A+ grade. Abdul Carter of the Giants is up, and Carter was the first of 2 Giants first-round picks on the night, the other, of course, being quarterback Jackson Dart. And coming out of Penn State, Abdul Carter was my number 1 prospect in the 2025 draft. I thought with the leap he took from 2023 to 2024, and with how explosive he is on tape, that he would be able to seamlessly make the transition to the NFL level, and I would argue in a lot of ways, he has. One of the only negative things you can say about Carter at this point is he only has half a sack, but if you do watch Giants games, he is constantly impacting the game, and he, along with Brian Burns, are forces to be reckoned with. And I don't want this to be anti-Brian Burns because both have been great players for New York, but there have been a couple of sacks where Burns has cleaned up a play that Abdul Carter blew up to begin with. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Carter has 5 or 6 sacks in the back half of his rookie year. He is a player that impacts every play, and I think he's been pretty close to what the Giants could have hoped for with the number 3 overall pick. The only part that I think can improve, which again I think will improve naturally, is him finishing plays over the next few months. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he wins the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and half a season in, this is an A. Travis Hunter, the 2A Heisman Trophy winning player from Colorado, is up, and one thing I do want to be clear within this is we are grading the Jags pick, not the trade up to go get him. We are not saying, hey, the Browns also drafted Quinshon Judkins with the Jags 2nd round pick and have their number 1 pick next year, therefore Travis Hunter's grade comes down. No, not at all, and unfortunately, Travis Hunter is currently on short-term IR with a knee injury, and the Travis Hunter grade is always going to be difficult because he plays 2 positions, and this is by every definition, an anomaly. And I've expressed frustration with the Jags' usage of Travis Hunter offensively because it felt like it was a lot of forced manufactured touches, meaning a lot of screens or passes within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, and I didn't think it looked natural when Jacksonville was forcing him the ball, outside of the Rams game and a few flashes here and there, most notably the big play against the 49ers. If I had to grade the plan the Jags had with Travis Hunter, I'd probably give it a D. But Hunter is a tremendous athlete and he's a very good football player, and I think he's going to get a lot better over the next few years as he gets more accustomed to the NFL. But for now, with what we've seen, this is a C+. Cam Ward was the #1 overall pick out of Miami, and this is a very difficult pick to grade for a couple of reasons. And the first thing I want to say is, a lot of things can be true at once. Cam Ward has not played great in his first 9 games, but on the same side of the coin, it's not a coincidence the Titans fired Brian Callahan and were the first team to fire a head coach in the 2025 season. And a personal take I have about the 2025 Titans is, I truly believe they are an all-time bad team, and we all know what it took for them to win a single game against Arizona. It pretty much took a miracle. So what makes the Cam Ward pick so difficult to grade is he is in a truly horrible situation, and in a lot of ways, it's make chicken salad out of chicken feces every single week. Cam Ward's raw numbers are not good, and he's near or at the bottom of the league in every passing category, but I do think some flashes for him have been there. He definitely needs to work on how often he gets sacked, as his pressure to sack ratio is admittedly terrible, and there's times where he's way too late on reads, and it happens. Again, he is a rookie quarterback. If there is anything positive to say, it's that his interceptions are not all his fault, but I don't think you can give a true evaluation of Cam Ward based on his first 9 games because of how bad the situation is. If I had to give a true letter grade, I would probably give it a C-, but there is a lot that needs to be factored in with this specific grade. I hope you enjoyed grading picks 1 through 16 midway through their rookie year, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe, as we are closing in on 220,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Thank you to Good Shop for sponsoring today's video, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.